So I think you've experienced that with maybe there was someone in New York when you worked at, that one organization.
We don't name names because these hoes don't pay money.
And you lived in Atlanta, but you all were really able to help each other out a lot.
We've worked with some big companies. Let's be clear.
Yeah, let's be clear.
Be clear. We work with some big companies. So when we say subject matter expert, I mean subject matter experts. Okay, a lot of big companies. Believe that. But go ahead, continue. In the building. Okay. I'm in the motherfucking building.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Clink up when we link up. So, Veronica and I know each other because, well, tell the people how we know each other.
So, Antoine and I met on the first day of grad school at North Carolina A&T. Aggie Pride. Am I really an Aggie?
Well, you're allowed to be Aggie Pride because you're a grad Aggie.
I paid loans.
Facts.
Technically, they pay an A&T. So I am an Aggie.
You're an Aggie.
I won't be wearing my A&T shirt.
I believe in you. Even when you don't believe in your damn self.
Okay.
No, but we did. I remember the first day we met. It was, we both was looking at like, we don't really vibe with most of these people here. Like I was looking at her, she was looking at me, and I was like,
it's not looking like a good fit.
It's not looking like a good fit.
It's a hard pass.
And then we found out, we was like, damn, we got all the same classes. And
I needed help on something. And you were like, oh, this is where you go to pay it. This is where you go to do X, Y.
Veronica has made it from the 910. What's Dallas area code? She lived down to Dallas, people.
214, I think.
214.
Is it 214? It's 214.
214.
Yeah, 214.
How was Dallas?
I love Dallas. It's actually very diverse. There's so much to do, from the nightlife to like cultural activities, the food.
The food is good?
The food, man.
It's
like
good?
all the food. There's so many options. The shopping. Yeah, I mean, so many places to shop, so many places to eat. Just a good crowd. Like, it's a really nice place.
So, when you first graduated, you was in Florida, right? But you was in Pensacola. That's what it was.
Yeah, so I went from a little bitty, I don't even know how to explain it. Just a very small, I guess, kind of maybe retiree town. So the black population was mainly very poor. No, it's relevant.
Zero.
Like, I mean, it's low, but the black people who are there were very poor.
Yeah.
Like the illiteracy rate in Pensacola was very high.
Really?
No lie. Like,
I never knew that.
Poor black people and rich white people. It was a huge disparity. It wasn't diverse at all. Even like the nightlife, they were very behind the times. So you'd see people with like tall tees, horses, spring bags. I wish I was lying, but I'm not.
Did you see a jersey dress?
I did not, but I did. You remember the very high socks with like the t-stripes? There were girls matching like that at the club. The club, the only black club in Pensacola, where you bring your own.
But
bottle.
that's where you were working at the mill for making a lot of money. Might I add? Okay. Straight out of grad school, making that bank.
Yeah. So I was in a development program. And basically they move you to different cities. And being that I worked at I guess paper manufacturer, a lot of the plants are very old. And so when you think of manufacturing, a lot of the plants are in rural cities. Most people aren't gonna be like, yeah, I want to live there. It sounds very.
So.
Yeah, so you experienced some of that in the workplace too.
And because you remember the situation you had.
Yeah, I had a few racially charged situations that took place in the workplace.
Racially?
Yeah.
During police. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
So that was really tough to be in a place where you enjoy maybe your work, but you also feel you know, some of the, I guess,
Sting of
heat
racism.
of racism in what, 16?
So she ain't gonna say it, but she saw a motherfucking what was a whip? Was it a whip?
A noose.
A noose.
Yeah.
In her workplace. We are in the HR, we are in human resources, so that's kind of why we're making this video, to give y'all some inside
Well,
knowledge.
I didn't see the news, but I had an employee tell me about the news.
Yeah, the police said about the news, but like nonetheless,
I saw a
you was one of what,
very
like 15 black employees?
management goes and more a salaried professional role. I
It
the
was
only
less
black
people in
person.
there, right?
The only black person,
Right.
the only
The
minority.
town wasn't diverse either.
Well, we had a few black engineers. There were
Right.
sorry, about 2 black engineers and
Mhm.
maybe like 2 engineering managers who were black. But other than that, I mean, no, it wasn't a lot of people.
It's like that, but to intro, that's how we know each other.
Yeah,
and-
that was a lot.
You know it's gonna be edited. Clink up, okay, before we start the do's and don'ts. So basically, clink up.
I'm so
We
embarrassed
wanted
about
to-
my nails. I'm sorry.
Do we still look crazy? What we're gonna do is we want to talk about the do's and don'ts of being a black millennial in corporate America. Cause you know we deal with recruiting, we deal with recruiters every day, we deal with people who bring your background, we deal with managers who are bringing people on board, who are people bringing people off board. We know the reason why people, you know, are going off board in these
Yeah.
interviews.
The
You know?
legal aspect of our roles and how certain conversations you have and emails you send, and I mean we see a lot of
Everything.
everything because we're
Your employee evaluation, we can see it.
Yeah.
We can see
Format.
why. Yeah, everything.
even things that are very personal.
Social
When
security
you
number, we got
have-
it.
When you have a
We
baby,
got
the
it.
FMLA comes through us. When
Yep.
you get divorced, you change your W-4 paperwork. That comes to us. So
Qualifying life event.
we know everybody's
We know everything.
business.
And it's our job to be very quiet. That's why it's like people who choose like for HR, I can trust you because you gotta be trustworthy on your job. Like you can't
do.
right, you can't
Because you know everybody.
If I was a fraud ass nigga, I got like 17 social security numbers right now on deck.
Just 17, I got a smooth 200.
On deck.
And that's just my place. I'm sure I can access.
So I trust you. If you in HR, I trust you. So that's what I'm saying. Like if people don't understand that people that have been in the HR arena can actually give you a lot of insight. Like especially if they're in the industry that you're trying to get into.
Yeah.
Because they know the managers, they know the recruiting process, they know the notes. Like we can see all the notes on why people weren't hired as well. You know, so that's a tip to people, you know, that like in the interview process, the perception that you're giving off.
You should probably
those
do
notes.
a segment on just like interviewing,
Yeah.
the interview process,
Yeah.
remaining professional through it all, like things like that.
Because that doesn't happen all the time.
You'd be surprised.
Not really. But anyways, okay, so we're gonna go through. With that being said, I just wanted to let you people know why we are subject matter experts on the topic. But want to go to a couple of do's and don'ts because really, I just thought about how I wish I would have had, you know, I just wish I would have had this information.
Right.
As I was like entering the workforce after grad school, like we were so ambitious, ready for the workforce. Like,
Right.
I just wish I would have, you know, had some people sit down and be like, listen, real people.
No.
Lorraine Ray. We'll block her out, but Lorraine Ray.
Just having authentic conversations,
Yeah.
not even on surface level. This is what professionals do. That would be across the board, but specifically to us, like, even when it comes down to certain things, sometimes about like maybe your hair color, hair choices, or your nails, or make sure you know our bodies are a little different. So, you know, even with your interview attire, like sometimes you might have to watch it because your skirt don't fit the same way
as Becky
Karen's does. But it's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Like, you just have
Absolutely.
to watch things a little closer as a professional. So, so just having that authentic conversation with somebody who is like you. Not just from, as a professional as a whole, but look, you black.
You black.
You black.
So, we're going to get into this list. You ready? So, number one on we came with a super list. Okay, first, take initiative. What do you feel about Black millennials in the workforce right now, 2020, taking initiative?
I think sometimes it's easy to go into work and do your job, just your job. But I think to be an asset, especially as a Black professional, sometimes you have to go above and beyond and say, well, this is my job duty, but how is it going to affect these people? Or this is my job duty, and what steps do I need to make to carry out this specific task and make it easier on this person or this person? Because that's how you really become valuable. You're not just doing, this is what you do every day, X, Y, Z. You're not just doing that, but you're going, okay, maybe if I do it this way versus the way I was told, then it would help this group of people. So I think it's important to understand how to not just do your job, but
take initiative
to do a little bit more sometimes.
And doing more is sometimes making sure that what I've done is so correct that I've improved the process of what we do. So taking initiative has sometimes been like, hey, I see what we're doing, but we can do this better by X, Y, and Z. And that is by, talking to the stakeholders involved, talking to maybe managers on the team of maybe the I team. With us, we deal with IT a lot, finance a lot, improve our positions. So talking to the team outside of what you do and just saying, what can we do to make sure this process is more smooth?
Right.
So make sure that what you are doing is better.
Value added.
Right.
Or at least value added.
Value added to the
stuff
company.
we're doing is not of value to people, and we think it is.
Talk to people.
Yeah, sometimes you have to go the extra step to say, hey, does this make sense to you? Does this work for you?
Right.
And it may be something simple.
Yeah.
It's not always something huge, but even the simple things make a difference because you have to have a foundation.
Absolutely. Number 2, if you don't know this and you haven't heard this before in your life, you're probably failing. Network externally and internally.
Yes. So I added internally because I feel like if not equally important, it may be more important because maybe there's somebody who works at the same company, but they work at a different location and they understand the inner workings of the organization. But you also have like some type of maybe personal connection as well. And so sometimes the group of people you work with are maybe not as helpful to you. And so sometimes it's really nice to have somebody who understands the exact policies, procedures, all that stuff in your company, but they just don't work where you are. So I think you've experienced that with maybe there was someone in New York who worked at that one organization.
We don't name names because these hoes don't pay money.
And you lived in Atlanta, but you all were really able to help each other out a lot.
We've worked with some big companies. Let's be clear.
Yeah, let's be clear.
Be clear. We work with some big companies. So when we say subject matter expert, I mean subject matter experts. Okay, a lot of big companies. Believe that. Well, go ahead, continue.
But yeah, so they offer an insight that is relevant to what you do on an everyday basis because they understand your policies a little bit different and stuff like that. But externally, I think you really have to know on a larger scale how your work is important to no matter what industry you're in, what company you're with, like just more on a high level understanding your purpose. And I think that's what networking
and you know what I want to say to the hats, and that's what's happening right now, is I saw this clip and it's inspired me to do what I'm doing right now, which from Issa Rae, which says work across. We all want to work. Who is the SVP, who's the senior vice president? Work across. Work people who has the same experience. Veronica has the same experience as I do. I'm not trying to get a senior vice president of a company. I'm trying to get somebody who's been in the nitty gritty like I had. So work across when you're doing things. Don't say we always have to network up.
And I have a family member who's a chief human resources officer, just very far in her career, obviously, makes big money. And when I say big money, I mean big money, like 300, 400,000 plus a year. And so, and has been making that for years. So, but one of the things that she told me was to make sure you're well networked. And I'm just like, why would that matter? When she had periods of like unemployment because of a layoff or something like that, she said that's when she knew she should have been more well networked, because in situations like that, you have a friend who works at this company and they're like, hey, I know someone who just got laid off and you just got a job. But even in her high role, she was saying that, you know, that's typically how people get those jobs, because somebody knew somebody and they reached out to them. So no matter what level in your career you're in, that showed me the importance of being well networked, because for not only the, I guess, benefits of like learning things from others from different industries and stuff like that, but you also, it helps you, you know, in your career, get jobs and know when there are openings, or if you're ready to jump ship, you can just be like, hey, do y'all know anything? And bam, there
quickness
you
is
go.
quickness is the name of the game. Hey, not just get a job, but get a job real quick.
And look at referrals. So even on that level, you see how networking is important.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I'm looking at referrals before I look through anybody else's. And so if you have a referral, then that's what we're doing.
Absolutely.
So it's important to just know people. It
is absolutely, because especially with people that have goodwill with their jobs already, you know, because they're looking like.
And that's what I'm going to ask.
I'd be giving referral bonuses.
Yeah, is that a good performer? Is that a good performer? Oh,
yeah.
Well, he performs well, and he referred this person, so we definitely bring him through the door.
On 10, on gate.
Yeah.
Number 3 is know your career path and understand how your role relates to that in order to be an asset. So basically, I think that is great advice, because as a Black millennial in the workforce, I feel like your probationary period, people used to say 90-day probationary period. You're on probation for 6 months. In your mind, you should say, I want to do the best I can do for 6 months. I don't want to just say I can relax at 90 days. I can be good at 90 days. 6 months into when I'm in a job, I need to make sure I's dotted, T's crossed, because they're looking at you. They're, regardless of how comfortable you feel, they're looking at you, and you need to make sure that you are understanding. Number 1, they're looking at me, and number 2, I know how I play into the bigger picture of my company.
I think it's important to know your career path for a few different reasons, but my main one I would say is I think sometimes people get complacent and stuck in one particular position, and you don't know what the next step is for you. So you spend, say, 4 or 5 years in a role, when after 2 years you could have been in the next level in your career, but you didn't know that. So I think it's important to always kind of know what next steps are for you. Like, what's your progression look like?
You know what I'm saying? That's why you need to understand of what they expect of you. In your role, what does success look like?
Right.
Tell me that this is what I'm supposed to be doing in my role, and you know we don't like this professor who shall not be named. It's like Voldemort. Oh, you know what I'm talking about.
I try not.
You gonna drink on it? Drink on it. She who shall not be named. Ooh.
I'm really trying.
Ooh.
I'm cut. We gotta take a break.
I'm trying. Thank you. All right, we're back with it. So number 4 on the dudes list is my number 1. This is my number 1, which is play the game.
Yeah.
So in order to play the game, you gotta know what the game is, and the game is, especially I think as a male and female, you can't be aggressive.
No.
You can't be aggressive in how you feel. Number 1, and to me, if you are a real nigga, you be everything the opposite of what you think a real nigga is. Okay? Don't come up thinking you can be real with your coworkers, say how you feel.
No. Or your boss.
Or your boss.
Like you gotta learn how to sugarcoat, sprinkle that sugar.
You gotta sprinkle that sugar because you cannot be you. When I tell you it's a game, and I thought like play the game. I thought it was something that people just said, but it's really a game and a system that you got to learn how to exist in.
Yeah.
How have you had to play the game, in your career?
I think as far as confrontation goes, I'm very authentic. If you do something that to me is out of pocket, don't expect to smile at me the next day at lunch. we're not cool. Like we're not good. So
lunch did not make us good.
Next day when I see you at lunch, I'm gonna be like,
we're not good.
Yeah. So
yeah.
But I think, when you're dealing with people of different races or nationalities or whatever the case may be, we're a little different on that. Like even I remember growing up, with people of different races, and they have an argument in the next 5 minutes, or they're talking about each other the next 5 minutes, they're smiling in each other's faces. If we have a problem, I heard you was talking about me.
We got an issue.
We gonna hash it out. It's not gonna be.
And we're not good.
It's no passive aggressiveness. This is what it is.
Passive aggressive is the best word to use for what happens.
Yeah.
And I had a conversation with a manager. Luckily, she kind of understood it. I didn't say passive aggressive, but I had to use code words or trigger words. But they're very passive aggressive. They will say they feel a way, but not say they feel a way. They will say you're doing amazing, but go right back to the people who matters and say that you're not.
Right.
So
it seems very fake.
Yeah. And tells me just like that's some fake shit.
Right.
Fuck that shit.
Exactly.
I don't fuck with you. But in the workplace, what you got to do is say, hey, I understand that we had a communication issue. And I think that for me, I work with better direct communication than you do. But in my hood mind, I'm like, I don't fuck with your bitch ass. If you got a problem with me, don't tell my manager. Tell me.
Right.
But you got to say is, hey, that's not effective communication by not handling it peer-to-peer. You got to change it like that. Okay? And hood translate on ass. Okay, let's go to number 5. Number 5 is, Veronica, we did this shit. Because this list is amazing. Number 5 is... This is the dudes.
Okay.
Yeah, that was number 4.
Sorry.
Clink up, woman, clink up. Okay.
Well, maybe that's why I didn't know it was number 5 because I had been clinking up. So maybe I need to stop clinking up.
That's a problem. But it makes us do it. Number 5 is work twice as hard. Very good one.
Yeah. I think there's some things that you're held to a higher standard on, or everything.
Everything.
More is expected because if you're late to a meeting, it's a bigger deal. If you don't show up to work one day, it's a big deal.
It's a problem.
Like you're just graded a little bit more harshly than everybody else. So that makes it to the point where I have to overcompensate to be at the same level as this other person. Even when it comes to you might have an extra degree, extra certification.
A couple extra.
Yeah.
Okay, because we got a couple extra. Okay, MBA. Okay.
An extra degree or extra certification. And you're in the same role with the same pay as somebody else, and it's not recognized.
They're still trying to play you.
Yeah, and all the additional information or knowledge that comes with extra certifications or extra degrees is still just kind of glossed over because.
And also, when you feel like you're doing, and that's why I feel like number 3 was a very good point, to know the expectations from your role. Because when you're doing the expectations for your role, understand that you have to do a little bit more. And for me, I get it. You have to have the emotional intelligence, which is what you have to learn, to be like, that is the system. And that's the system that we have to work around. You know? And I feel like that was the biggest lesson for me, probably, is to learn to work around the system and to learn that it's not personal against me.
No.
It's how the system works.
Yeah. I agree completely. I don't even have anything to add.
That's facts. Okay, so we're going to the don'ts.